All right. So here we go. So when I go ahead and solve this equation, all right, now I've already mentioned that there's going to be a problem when we end up solving this, or something that doesn't seem right, okay? But here we go. Here's how I would go ahead solving it. First, I'm going to go ahead and distribute out, okay? So what I end up with is, when I distribute that out, is I'll end up with 3x plus 7 equals my 5x plus 6. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times negative x is negative 2x. Plus 1. Okay? Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to combine all my like terms on this side. All right? So I'm going to go ahead and combine 6 with 1, and I'll end up getting 7. And I'm also going to end up combining 5x and negative 2x. So when I do that, I'll end up with, over here, 3x plus 7 equals 5 minus 2x gives me 3x, and 6 plus 1 gives me 7, gives me plus 7. Now, right here at this step, you might already see something that's seems a little bit off, okay? Seems like it's not quite right, okay? All right, I'm going to keep going. Just think about what you see here that seems kind of weird, or seems kind of different from when we normally solve equations. And I'm going to go ahead and finish solving, okay? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move my 7 over, and so I'm going to combine those, okay? And I'll end up getting 3x equals 3x. And then I would go ahead and I would divide by 3, maybe, and I end up with x equals x, okay? Now, when you get into this situation up here at this step, there's multiple ways you could do it, okay? So let's say I went ahead and I subtracted 3x from this side and this side. Then my x's would go away. I would have 7 equals 7, okay? So that is another possible situation that you can create, and you can end up with that. So if you had that, you would still be right, okay? The other thing you could have done here, some people might have done, is instead of dividing by 3 here, what you might have done is you might have subtracted 3x. And if you subtracted 3x from both sides, you would have just ended up with 0 equals 0. Okay? All situations are correct. Okay? The reason being is because when this happens and we get two constants, which is what these are called, x and x, 7, 7, 0, 0, those are called constants. When we get two constants that equal each other, that is called a situation with infinite solutions. Okay? The reason all three of these are possible solutions is because infinite means any number that I pick to replace with x will work in this equation. Okay? So every single number any number, any value that I pick will work and make this equation true. Okay, so we have multiple answers here because there's infinite number of answers that are available for it. Okay, does that all make sense as to why there's infinite solutions for this problem? Now, a lot of times people will identify that it has infinite solutions when they get to a situation right here. Okay, so once you distribute and you combine like terms, you see you get the same exact thing on both sides. Well, these are values, those are still constants, right? So because those are exactly the same, I could have probably stopped here and said, okay, I have infinite solutions because I have two equations that are exactly the same. Okay, so that's another thing you could have done also. All right, so I want to give you guys some time to go ahead and do this one on your own. I'll give you another 5 minutes to go ahead and do this one on your own, and I want you guys to tell me what you end up getting. All right. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to work this problem here. Okay. Again, I'm going to start by distributing out the 3 and the 2. Okay, so I'm going to end up with 3x minus 5 plus 11. Oh, sorry, 3x minus 15. My bad there. 3x minus 15 plus 11 equals x plus 2x plus 10. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to combine my like terms on this side. And this side I have x and 2x. Okay, so when I go ahead and combine those, what I'll end up with is, I'm also going to combine my negative 15 and 11 over here. All right. So when I combine negative 15 and 11, I get 3x equals negative 4, which equals x plus 2x is 3x plus 10. Okay. Do we understand how we got there? So now we have this. So now I'm still going to keep solving. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move my 4 because I want to make this, I don't want to work with negatives. So I'm going to add 4 on both sides. And here I'll end up with 3x equals 3x plus 14. Okay. I want to get my variables on both sides, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go here, I'm going to subtract 3x. I know it will give me 0, but that's okay. All right. I'm going to subtract 3x to get my variable on both sides, but I see here, okay, 3x minus 3x is 0. So what I end up with is I have a situation where over here I have 0 equals 14. Now, does 0 equal 14? No, it doesn't. When I solve this, I end up getting a scenario that makes no sense. Okay? All right? Just like our last one where there were multiple different ways you could get an answer, there's multiple different ways you could get an answer here too, and you'll get all kinds of things, but they will all end up being not equal to each other. Okay, I think like -2, -6, or I think you also will get -14 equals 0. But no matter what you do, you're going to end up with two constants that end up not equaling each other. So since this is not a true statement, there is no solution here. Okay, so before we said that every possible number is a solution when we have infinite solutions. This situation, no number, no value, nothing is going to be a solution to this equation. Okay, all right. So what this actually means is pretty much that this is an impossibility. Okay, these two expressions cannot and will not ever equal each other. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, that's going to bring me to the last part here for you guys, so that you guys can do your post test. Okay, Yurko wants to buy a PS4 for $290. He currently has saved up $150. Yurko works at Venture and makes $8 an hour. How many hours will he have to work in order to have enough to buy his PS4? Okay, so he wants to buy this PS4 for $290. We need to go ahead and write an equation so that we can solve to figure out how many hours he will have to work. Okay, so first we need to define a variable. Okay, and usually the variable is what you're trying to figure out. We're trying to figure out hours. So let's go ahead and say that we're going to use H in our equation to represent hours. Hours. There. Okay. We also know that he wants to get to $290. Okay. So if that's what he wants to get to, we're going to make sure that whatever we put together for our expression equals 290. Now, what do we know? We know he already has 150 that he's going to use towards it. Okay? Right? So he has 150. With that, he's going to add the amount of money that he makes working at Venture. Well, now, how do we know how much money he makes at Venture? Well, we do know. We know that he makes $8 an hour. So the amount of money he makes is going to be 8 times the number of hours. And the number of hours is what we're going to be trying to figure out. Okay? All right, I'm going to give you a chance to go ahead and solve this on your own. That should be about 2 minutes. You guys should be able to do that in about 2 minutes. All right, now we're going to go ahead and solve for H here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to subtract 150. From both sides. When I go ahead and do that, what ends up happening is I get 140 equals 8H. And to finish that off, we're going to divide both sides by 8. Divide by 8. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do my long division out over here. Okay, I know this is kind of far away, but it's scratch work. 140 divided by 8. All right. So 8 goes into 14 one time. 1 times 8 is 8. 14 minus 8 is 6. Bring down my 0. 8 goes into 60 7 times. 56. The remainder of 4. So that would be, so that ends up being 17 and 4/8. Okay. Because if I'm making a fraction, I'm going to go ahead and take my remainder and put it over my dividend. Okay. And I can simplify 4/8 into 1/2. So the answer ends up being that it would take him 17 and 1/2 hours. Okay. All right. I hope that makes sense. Okay. I think this problem's pretty straightforward, and it's pretty easy to organize out into an equation and then solve it. So there you go.